Hey everybody, Tyler Johnson with Ursa Health, back with another quick explainer video. Today's question is, can I have multiple definitions for the same concept within Ursa, and how best do I manage that? This question comes up quite frequently, so I wanted to record a very short video that explains at a high level a couple of different approaches for this problem in Ursa Studio. For today's example, let's say that we are looking at our PMPM measure, and let's say that you are partnering with multiple organizations, and each of those organizations potentially have different variations of definition for PMPM, or maybe different contractual obligations for calculating PMPM in order to do things like reimbursement or shared savings arrangements, value-based contracting, things of that nature. So there's a couple different approaches for managing multiple definitions for a single concept in Ursa Studio. One way is to create derived fields on the measure so that in Analytics Portal, you can split by whatever the different criteria is for those different partners. In today's video, I'm not going to talk about that approach. I'm going to talk about a very easy approach in Ursa Studio for cloning an existing object or measure and then tweaking the logic so you can have two independent versions of a concept running side by side with slightly different specification or definition. So let's go ahead and get started with this PMPM measure. I'm going to jump into Measure Workshop. And with any object within Ursa Studio, if you're in edit mode, you can clone any object with just one click. So this is our original PMPM measure with the original definitions for PMPM. In today's example, I'm going to clone this measure. It's going to open up a new tab. It's going to have me change the name or confirm the name. I'm going to go ahead and say this is for PMPM Payer Partner 2. This is just an example. In the naming panel, you can change all of the different metadata about this measure, the nickname, the name, etc. But really for today's demonstration, what I wanted to do is show how easy it is to clone and then tweak logic so you can have two independent measures running side by side. So let's say that for this particular contract, really all I'm interested in from a overall patient PMPM standpoint for reimbursement or whatever this contractual relationship I have is going to be certain patients with certain conditions. I'm going to add a restriction with the pattern all are true. And then I'm going to say that you need to have either anxiety or, let's see, is CCW, we'll say bipolar, or is CCW, we'll pick one more, we'll go depression. And then I'm going to say restrict to just patients who are targeted for intervention. Great. So really easily, I cloned my PMPM. I added another restriction to filter down this population to those patients that I care about with those specific CCW chronic conditions. And if I wanted to take this a step further, I could even add restrictions to the numerator, which is all the spend information or the data mart for claim financials. And I can say what I want to do is filter out pharmacy spend. So I'm going to do a quality filter on is claim class pharmacy, and I'm going to say this has to equal 0. So this says excludes farm spend in my calculation. Some arrangements, they may include pharmacy, some may not. It all kind of depends on the specifics of your solution and who you're partnering with externally. But for today's example, I took my original PMPM definition, I cloned it, and then I added a restriction on the denominator for only patients with certain CCW chronic conditions. And for spend on the numerator, I filtered down to say, we're going to include all spending except for pharmacy. So we're going to take that out. I'm going to go ahead and save this measure and add a description. Cloned from original PMPM, specific to contract payer X. Okay. Now when I come back into Measure Workshop, I can see that for that PMPM measure, it's here in my list of measures, PHF 001 Payer Partner 2, alongside the original PMPM measure. And now both of those measures can be added to reports and ran independently with just slightly different specifications. Hope this was helpful to show how easy it is to take objects in Ursa Studio, clone them, and tweak the logic. In future videos, I can go into more detail on the second approach that I talked about, where you have one master measure or object, and all of the different logic is implemented as derived fields. So you can filter and split on the derived fields instead of having two independent concepts running side by side. We can get into more detail on that if helpful. As always, check out our knowledge base at docs.ursahealth.com and feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Thanks all. Talk soon.